Your mortgage payment is about to change. Your rent might be illegal to raise the way your landlord plans to raise it, and there's free money sitting at a federal agency right now, waiting for someone to claim it before a deadline almost nobody knows exists. None of that is a guess. It's already moving. 5 separate clocks are running right now across federal agencies and county offices. Not one of them is going to call you and say, "Get ready." You find out when the letter shows up, and by then, half your window to do anything about it is already gone. That's the trick hiding in plain sight here. Nothing on this list is illegal, secret, or rare. It's just quiet. The agencies running these clocks aren't hiding anything from you. They're simply not required to chase you down before the deadline hits. So here's the plan for the next few minutes. The real dates, the real numbers, and exactly what to do starting this month. Not in September when the deadline is already on top of you and the best options are gone. Want this kind of warning before it becomes a problem instead of after? Subscribe, hit the bell. Let's go. Change 1. Your mortgage payment is already scheduled to move. Do you actually know what's inside your monthly mortgage payment? If you have an escrow account, your servicer collects more than principal and interest. They collect a slice for property taxes, a slice for insurance, hold it, and pay those bills for you. Convenient, until the annual escrow analysis runs and your number quietly jumps. Here's how it works. Every year, usually in late summer, your servicer checks the math. Is what they're collecting enough to cover next year's tax and insurance bills? If not, your payment rises, and the new number typically lands on your September or October bill. Why does 2026 matter specifically? Property tax assessments are moving, but unevenly. Maryland's 2026 reassessment pushed residential values up roughly 13% on average. Some Colorado homeowners are seeing bills climb even where their home's value didn't, a quirk of how the state recalculated its tax rate structure. Other counties, like Johnson County, Kansas, saw far smaller increases, and some homeowners there actually saw their assessment drop. There's no single number that applies to every house in America. What is true? A double-digit jump on an individual tax bill is common enough this year that assuming your payment stays flat is a bet you shouldn't make blind. Want to see how fast this adds up? Picture a homeowner with a combined annual tax and insurance bill of $6,000, $500 a month into escrow. Their county pushes the tax bill up 8%. New annual total, roughly $6,144. New monthly escrow, about $512. Just $12 more a month in this example. But in counties seeing 15 or 20% increases, or where insurance is also climbing at renewal, that monthly jump can land anywhere from $50 to well over $100. On a fixed income, that's not pocket change. That's a budget rewrite. Here's the part almost nobody checks. Federal law caps how much extra cushion your servicer is allowed to sit on in that account. Under the Real Estate Settlement Procedures Act, the cushion above your projected disbursements can't exceed 1/6 of your annual escrow total, about 2 months' worth. If your servicer is padding past that line, you can request a review, and any confirmed overage of $50 or more must be refunded within 30 days. Almost no one asks. And the notice you eventually get often gives you as little as 30 days before the new payment kicks in. Barely enough time to read it, let alone question it. Your move this month. Pull your latest mortgage statement. Find your current escrow figure and your current tax and insurance totals. Then search your county, Property Tax Assessment 2026, and see what's actually coming. Compare the two numbers now, while you still have time to spot a problem before the notice forces your hand. While you're there, check whether your county offers a senior, disability, or homestead exemption you haven't claimed. A surprising number of eligible homeowners never apply, and an unclaimed exemption is money you hand back every year until someone files the paperwork. And here's why this is worth doing even if your own numbers look fine. An escrow shortage doesn't just raise next month's payment. Servicers are allowed to spread a shortage repayment over a full year, which means a single bad estimate can quietly inflate your mortgage payment for the next 12 months straight, long after the original tax bill has been paid off. Catching the error before the analysis runs is the only point where you have real leverage. After that, you're just paying it down. Change 2. Millions of homes just got reclassified into flood zones. Do you know what flood zone your house sits in right now? Most people don't. They've never had a reason to check, which is exactly the gap this one exploits. A property that has never needed flood insurance can be reclassified overnight into one that legally must carry it. FEMA updates its flood maps continuously, but 2026 is carrying one of the largest waves of revision in years. Harris County, Texas is the headline case. Draft maps would expand the high-risk flood zone by roughly 50,000 acres, a 33% jump, pulling over 170,000 additional properties into mandatory insurance territory. Florida counties are seeing similar targeted revisions. Santa Barbara's updated map just became effective this June. This isn't one town's problem. It's moving through counties nationwide on different timelines. Why does it blindside people so consistently? FEMA's notices go out through official channels, but the news that actually reaches a homeowner is often the mortgage servicer's letter, sometimes giving as little as 30 to 60 days before they force place a policy on your behalf. Your servicer isn't trying to help you find the cheapest coverage. They're protecting their collateral, and they'll act the moment that requirement isn't met. And force-placed insurance runs 2 to 3 times the cost of a policy you could get yourself through the National Flood Insurance Program or a private insurer, while covering you less. Here's what almost nobody learns until it's too late. If your property's actual elevation doesn't support the new designation, you can apply directly to FEMA for a letter of map amendment. It needs an elevation certificate from a licensed surveyor, a few $100s, but if FEMA approves it, the designation and the insurance mandate disappear entirely. Some properties save real money every year after that, indefinitely, because one person decided to check instead of accept. Not every remap is bad news either. In some counties, new drainage systems and bridge projects have moved properties out of high-risk zones. The only way to know which direction yours is moving is to look. Your move this month. Go to FEMA's Flood Map Service Center at msc.fema.gov and look up your address. Got any FEMA or servicer mail about a flood zone change? Call an independent insurance agent before your servicer force places anything. That one call is the difference between a market rate and a penalty rate. Change 3. Your next rent increase is already being written. Think your lease is settled until renewal? Somewhere, a property manager's calendar already has your renewal date circled. The notice for your January 1st increase is, in many states, legally required to go out months ahead, which means it's being drafted right now for an October or November mailing. How much notice depends on where you live. Most places require 30 to 60 days. California requires 90 days for any increase above 10%. Oregon requires 90 days for increases above its statewide cap. New York City's rent-stabilized units run on their own rules entirely. And in cities with formal rent stabilization, parts of California, New York, New Jersey, Oregon, Maryland, annual increases are commonly capped around 3 to 5%. Go above that cap on a covered unit, and the increase isn't just unusual, it's legally invalid, and you can refuse to pay the excess. The trap is timing. Notices for January 1st land in October or November, so by the time most renters start thinking about it, the window to negotiate, search for alternatives, or invoke a protection has already shrunk to almost nothing. Here's the piece most renters never use. Even outside formally rent-stabilized buildings, plenty of cities have notice rules that quietly hand you leverage. A landlord who has to follow a specific process, and who knows you're aware of it, is often more open to a real conversation about the number than one who assumes you'll simply pay whatever the letter says. And if you do end up negotiating, get any agreed number in writing before your renewal date, not after. A verbal, "we'll work something out," carries zero weight once the official notice has already taken effect. Your move this month. Search, your city, rent increase notice requirements 2026. Check your lease for the renewal date and any built-in notice clause. And if your city has rent stabilization, Find out whether your specific building is covered. Buildings past a certain age are often exempt, and it's worth knowing which side of that line you're on before negotiations even begin. Change 4. There's free money sitting on the table. This is the one I most want you to actually act on. It's federally funded home repair, free, sitting there for a huge number of qualifying households. Almost nobody claims it. The Department of Energy's Weatherization Assistance Program covers no-cost insulation, air sealing, heating system repairs, water heater upgrades, and similar work for income-qualifying households. Be skeptical of the inflated numbers floating around online. The Department of Energy's own published figure is average household savings of roughly $370 a year on utility bills, not some four-figure miracle. Still, that's a real, recurring cut to a heating bill, and Oak Ridge National Laboratory has found every dollar the program spends returns several dollars in combined benefit to the household. Worth knowing, this program almost didn't survive 2026. A proposal to eliminate its federal funding entirely was on the table for this fiscal year. The spending package that ultimately passed preserved it, even as other Department of Energy offices got trimmed. It's active, but availability and wait times vary sharply by state, and some agencies already have wait lists running several months deep. What does the work actually look like? An assessor visits first, builds a priority list based on where your home is losing the most energy. Then a contractor handles it, sealing drafts, adding insulation, fixing or replacing an aging furnace or water heater. None of it cosmetic. None of it costs you anything if you qualify. It's also worth knowing this isn't limited to homeowners. Renters can qualify too, and manufactured homes are eligible in most states. The program was built around need, not the type of deed on the property. Eligibility generally runs at or below 200% of the federal poverty level, or 60% of state median income, whichever is higher. A line that comfortably includes a large share of seniors on Social Security and renters and homeowners on modest fixed incomes. Here's the timing trap. Work gets scheduled around contractor availability. Apply now, and you're likely installed before heating season starts. Apply in November, and you might be waiting until spring, meaning you pay full winter heating costs with none of the benefit. And you've effectively forfeited the one thing this program exists to give you. Your move this month. Go to energy.gov/WAP or call your state energy office to find your local agency and apply now, while there's still time to be scheduled before cold weather hits. Renting? Ask whether your state allows the work without separate landlord permission. Several do. Earning a bit above the federal threshold? Ask the same office about state supplements and LIHEAP, which can extend help further up the income scale. Change 5. A quiet federal review could rewrite how your home gets valued. This one moves slower than the rest, but if you own a home or plan to soon, it's worth tracking. The Federal Housing Finance Agency has an ongoing review into whether current appraisal and fair lending practices hold up consistently across different communities and market conditions. Translation: the agency that oversees Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac is asking whether the way your house gets valued is fair, and whether that valuation process treats some neighborhoods differently than others. What does that mean for you? If you're weighing a refinance or a home equity loan, new guidance from this review could shift the terms available to you, worth watching before you lock a rate. And if you've ever suspected your home was undervalued in a way that affected your mortgage terms, raising that with your lender or the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau may land somewhere more receptive while this review is active than it would in a quieter year. For renters, the link is real but slow. Appraisal and lending standards eventually ripple into rental supply and pricing, just not on a timeline that touches this winter's lease. Your move this month. Already planning a refinance? There's a real case for moving now rather than waiting on an outcome that might shift the rules underneath you. Not in a hurry? Just keep an eye on FHFA.gov through the second half of the year. Putting it all together, here's the full picture. Your escrow payment is likely moving this fall. Check your 2026 assessment now, before the notice does the talking for you. FEMA has redrawn the flood map under millions of properties. Check your designation today, before a servicer force places a policy on you. Your January rent notice is already being drafted. Know the rules before it lands. Free weatherization money is sitting there waiting. Apply this month before the calendar fills up. And a quiet federal review could shift the ground under anyone refinancing or borrowing against home equity. Kea Chigi. None of this needs action in the next 5 minutes. But every single one gets harder the longer you wait, and easier the earlier you move. Notice the pattern across all 5: escrow, flood maps, rent, weatherization, appraisal reform. In every case, the information existed before the deadline. The only difference between the people who got blindsided and the people who didn't is who bothered to look first. The people who come out ahead here did one simple thing. They looked a few months down the calendar instead of waiting for the letter. If this helped, subscribe, hit the bell, and send it to someone who owns a home, rents an apartment, or hasn't double-checked their mortgage in a while. Especially anyone on a fixed income who has no idea that weatherization program even exists. I'll see you in the next one.